came across this wonderful technology. It's called Theory U by MIT Professor Dr. Otto Scharmer. And we found that it makes life easier. Like you can actually cause transformation in an easier way, right? You don't have to fight tooth and nail to cause a transformation, to cause a change. And many of you have, I believe you had some experience with change management. And I'm sure many of you also know that it hasn't been very easy to do change management. We found that, right? Okay, so, but what we found is with this technology, it kind of becomes much easier. So the last 5 years, we have been incorporating this in all our work, whether it is strategy, whether it is leadership development, culture transformation. For that matter, some of the companies we are consulting, we are using it for sales and customer care. So it's like it has a broad application. Early last month, or actually from December, we have been consulting an organization where we've been working on performance dialogues, performance appraisals. And we found that the Theory U principles can make a big difference there. So as we designed for them and as we implemented for them, we thought of sharing with everybody, right? And it's not like a formula that we're going to share, but we can together co-create. Right? Our conversations are all co-creation, right? So together, all of us will work and create something. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Very good. So see, Theory U has many principles and it's kind of been developed over the last 3 decades. It's used in Fortune 500 companies like Google and Alibaba and all those. But it's also used in social enterprises, like Ashoka Foundation trains a lot of their social entrepreneurs in this technology. Government is using it. We have been using it with NGOs. We have been using it with for-profit centers and businesses, but also universities and schools. And like early this week, I did a workshop for professors of engineering and management colleges from all over India and a couple of people from other countries. And it's kind of something we find it has a universal appeal. Right? So first principle that we look at is how do you learn? Or where do you learn from? So mostly all our learning is oriented around learning from the past. If you think for a moment, you look at mostly how do we learn? We have data points coming from the past, right? We reflect on that. You study theories, you study models, you study frameworks, and it helps you to reflect on the past. Yes, no? Do you agree? Okay. So what Otto realized and what we also see is if you look at leadership, leadership is not about being great with the past. Means you can write an encyclopedia or you could write some history books around it. But the job of a leader is not just to be great with the past, but is also about, is more about taking the team, taking the organization to a future. And you can't go to a future just based on the past, you know, because no industry is going to have a future which looks exactly like the past. The world is not going to have a future which looks like the past. So if your reference point is the past only, then you're going to be handicapped. You need to develop a new place to learn from, a new place where you are not limited by what you know, but you can actually sense the future as it is emerging. So we said that the game is to learn from sensing the future as it emerges. Okay, So that's one dimension I would invite you to keep in mind. And if you if you like making notes, this is one of the points that I would recommend that you make a note, because we're going to kind of put this all together as we go ahead in this 2 hours, right? So the first point is going beyond learning from the past and learning from sensing the future as it emerges. So that's the first point. You keep it in the background and we'll kind of find it relevant. Then there is the U process, which also I'll just touch base right now. Vivek, do you have that slide with, can you put up that slide, the U process? And some of you are familiar with this and others you'll just get familiar. So U process is, again, inside of learning from the future that is emerging. You can say there are 3 phases. The 3 phases, yeah, perfect. So again, very simple. First phase, can somebody read out for me?
Observe, observe, observe.
Yes.
Deep listening practices.
Perfect. So the first phase is observe, observe, observe. And it's deep listening, and it's not written there, but you can read it as deep listening and sensing practices. So when you are looking at past, you already know. You don't have to really observe. And you don't have to do observe, observe, observe. You observe 0.01% and remaining your brain will fill up. Because you already know everything from the past. So there are times when people ask a question before they can complete 25% of the question, you know what answer you're going to give, right? And there are some people, they don't even need to open their mouth, you know what they're going to say, right? But when we're looking at the future, and when we're looking at things which are beyond what we know, or where there's a need for us to go beyond what we know, then we need to redevelop this skill. Maybe we had this skill as kids, but now maybe we need to redevelop this skill called observe, observe, observe. Deep listening and sensing practices. And we are going to give a taste of this today. We'll have an exposure to this today. And then the second phase of this is retreat and reflect. So what do you do after you observe? You retreat and reflect, like step back and reflect. I like what Peter Senge, another MIT professor and senior colleague of Dr. Otto Scharmer, he said, in organizations who are committed to learning, one thing they have to remember is, if there is no time for reflection, learning will not happen. Learning only happens in the space for reflection. Okay. So as you observe, there are times when, especially in this so-called fast pace that we are trying to live in, many people go from observing to action. Oh, I want to take action. I want to take action. Speed is everything. Speed is everything. But maybe it's smarter to pause. And pause, retreat, and reflect. And when you retreat and reflect, the game is to allow your inner knowing to emerge. Allow the inner knowing, the moments, the space for inspiration to emerge. And when you do that, some sparks will come, some ideas, some sparks, some imagination will come. Then you act in an instant. Once those sparks come, once this inspiration comes, then you act in an instant. Okay. So far so good. Any questions about this? Did you get the 3 phases? Okay, so quiz time. Okay. What is phase number 2?
Retreat and reflect.
Retreat and reflect. Thank you, Jesu. And what's phase number 3? Bridget? Act in an instant. Yeah. Ranbir?
Yeah.
You're saying the same thing? Action. Yeah. Right. And what is the purpose of the second phase?
If there
Vivek,
is
you can
no,
keep the slide.
yeah, if there is no time for reflection, learning will not happen.
Right. So what is the purpose of the second phase then?
It's
Learning.
Yeah.
The game is to allow the inner knowing to emerge, is what is.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So what I am doing here is with all of you, we are going to do an experiment. We are going to actually practice this real time right now in this 2 hours. Okay. So we're not going to do theory around it. We are going to actually practice this and practice it in the area of performance appraisals. Okay. So we not learn enough theories, but let's see how we can practice it. Interested?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's first, so the first phase is what? Observe, observe, observe. Which means you have to take yourself out of the equation and you have to kind of step out and see it, right? So if you are emotionally entangled in this thing, you cannot really observe, right? You kind of distance yourself from the situation, then you can observe better. Okay. So how many of you have been doing performance appraisals for a long, long time? Raise your hand. You've been involved with performance appraisals for a long, long time, right? And yeah, and how many of you been on both sides? Yeah, like you are the appraisee as well as you are the appraised, right? Both sides, right? And some of you also been kind of reviewers, right? So you're the appraiser's appraiser, right? Reviewer. How many of you been like reviewers, right? Your team members have to work with their team members, right? So you kind of know the lay of the land, right? So tell me, what are the general in the organizations that you've been associated with, not only the current one, but if you look at generically, what are the general emotions and feelings associated with performance appraisals and performance dialogues?
Yet
You can
again.
unmute. Yet again. Okay. What else?
An opportunity to learn and develop.
Really? Which organization?
I represent Olive Data Center.
Sorry?
I represent, I'm the CEO for Olive Data Center.
Right. So in your company, everybody thinks like that?
Not everybody, but I think
No, no. So
most of us.
Vikram, I'm asking right now, we want to look at the generic relationship people have.
So I would then balance it between, here's the time to get to know the truth, and the second is an opportunity to learn.
Okay, cool.
So
Very
Manoj,
good.
let me just kind of, add a perspective to it. We have moved away from ratings and rankings, bell curves, and all those interesting past. Yeah, we use continuous feedback, and we do this every we do this every instance of a KPI.
Right. True. But do you still have annual appraisals or not at all?
No.
Okay.
No, we got done with them.
Very good. Very good. But and then you do the KPI meetings to set up the KPIs?
We do.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. And yeah, so I think that's good. And that is what is required, that people convert it from annual to some regular phenomena. But I think the principles that we will create together here today will be relevant, still relevant, Vikram.
Absolutely. Look forward to learning. Thank you, Manoj.
Welcome. Welcome. Great. Okay. Somebody else. What's the default mood of people when we talk about appraisals, feedbacks? Right?
Defensive.
Defensive. Yeah. Defensive. Yeah. Okay.
Apprehensive.
Stressed.
Yeah, apprehensive.
Apprehensive.
What is the perception of management about my performance?
Mukul, are you worried about the management or just the manager?
The manager, basically.
Right, we have to survive the supervisor, right, more than the management per se. But yeah, I understand.
But
The people
it depends on the
to
personal
recognize
perspective.
for their achievements.
Yeah.
And also the other side, management side, they expect the goals are achieved. They are in the growth path. And also there is a second point is what are the things gone wrong, so that we can have a new lesson. And also, as you said, sensing the emerging future, it's a motivation for the next level and establishing some improvement steps for the next level.
Right. Okay, cool.
To me, Manoj, it
Yeah.
is. I mean, what I feel is there is a guarded discussion actually. Whatever we speak,
Yes.
because there is a
Yes.
fear and there's a trust issue actually. Because if you want things to happen on a developmental discussions,
Right.
then many time, as a appraisee, if you say that I don't know this and I want some support for development,
Right.
it can go in a different way, because then appraiser may also look at it as an opportunity for giving a final rating. So it's all about what is the trust between appraisee and appraiser, and how much
Right.
open dialogues both of them have, not from today's perspective, but from a future perspective. So if
Right.
the environment is around this, then I think it will be more developmental discussions. The trust issues are to be
Trust
handled.
issues are- Right. Okay, good. Very good. Somebody else?
Yeah. As per my,
Yeah, Ranbir and then Bridget.
yeah,
Can I
as per
add
my
from
understanding.
maybe from a systems point of view, and also from a cultural point of view, if I look at some of the German organizations, appraisals, the way it's done very often now comes from the US or from the American-speaking world, and it sort of conflicts with the tradition in Germany, because in Germany we have a lot of craftsmen who have craftsmanship. And so the kind of appraisal system sometimes does not fit with this culture of self, sort of, once you have the tool of the trade, you know what to do, and you don't have to bring people in that maybe in a closed setup where you give them feedback all the time because they have their craftsmanship behind them. So there's also a clash of the right tool not being the right tool or method applied, and that also leads to a guarded, as you said, I don't know who mentioned it, guarded conversation, where people are very conscious that what they are playing out in the assessment game is not the real world, but the real day-to-day business is different, which it's like a double film. You sort of the real film and then the review assessment kind of film. And I see that very often happening. And I think there's two reasons for it. Maybe it's an excess, it's a tool from a different culture sometimes. And sometimes it's also just the living culture is different to this written structure or a procedural culture that you want to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
I understand. Thank you. Thanks, Bridget. Yes, Ranbir.
Yeah, I see what I have observed, and it's a lot of time I have observed. The people make groups, and they try to just know whose manager wants what.
Right.
And they start looking to do that things within a short span of time to gain the confidence of the rating or the manager.
Right.
And a lot of changes you see in the organization that during that period of time. A lot of people also think about the switching the organization. A lot of people thinks about the getting the promotions and other things. So, but more or less, people start thinking how to just please his manager so that he gives his rating high.
Right.
So
Perfect.
this has been my observation since last so many years.
Right. Very good. Got that. Great. One more person last, then we move on. Anybody?
So, yeah. So,
yeah, Kiran.
In my opinion, the appraisal is the organization, they will fix the standard process. But we people, what we do is, it is one thing in our calendar that we need to get it over.
Get over.
So as
right.
We are doing it for something in our checklist to get it over. So
yes.
And then we blame the organization.
Yes. Okay, good. Very good. So now applying one of the principles of theory you hear, I want to talk about ego versus eco. Okay. So what do we mean by ego here? Ego we mean as a boundary in thinking. So whenever I say me, that's ego, right? Whenever I say my department, it's ego, because I'm now thinking about with some people and I'm not mindful of everybody else. When I say my company, there's an ego because I'm again thinking of some people and not mindful of everybody else. So from that perspective, can you see that performance appraisals have a certain flavor of ego getting triggered or ego at play, like the boundary thinking, protecting myself, protecting my team, protecting. So there is the silo thinking, right? How many of you notice that ego or the silo thinking gets triggered?
Yep.
A lot.
Yeah.
It becomes a department wise. Marketing people think that I'm the boss of the company and I'll be requiring some more on over to the operations. Operations people think, yes, I'm the boss.
Yes.
So lot of group. That's why I told groupism becomes over there. People think about how to please their seniors.
Yeah, I have heard people saying, "Oh, that manager is rating his team very leniently, so I have to rate my team very leniently. Otherwise, my team will not get justice."
Correct.
And then there was a interesting manager I had worked with some 20 years back, approximately. He said, "Oh, I am going to give increments to everybody, big increments, because that is the only way I can get good increments. If I don't give good increments to my team, I can't get good increments. So don't worry, you're safe." That was when I learned it for the first time, it was like quite surprising. Then I found out that that's not a very uncommon practice. It's quite common. Okay, but coming back, using the principles that we want to use here. So first thing we want to look at is it is a certain amount of ego thinking, silo thinking that gets triggered here, right? And
sorry if I interrupt you, but this is a natural, almost a natural behavior. If you think, I mean, we people or mankind, we are a flock of people. I mean, we are animals that flock together. And so it's a natural reaction to do the same as the ones around you. As if you don't think about it and you just react, that's the way how you would react as a species.
Yes.
So it's almost a natural behavior to say, I give them a little bit, they give a little bit to me. It's this parallel thing. It's like a herd running away if there's a lion around. So it's that kind of behavior that we actually
it's kind of automatic. I would say I would use the word automatic, right?
Like it's almost automatic, and it's a sort of a biological choice you have. It's not something you really have to deliberately overcome.
Yes.
It feels natural not to do and to do it the other way.
Yeah.
It's interesting you're saying it still happens.
Yes. And there's fear. So one of the emotions that I commonly see is fear.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Second is also, Ranbir, just 1 second. Sorry. Second is greed. Like people I've been in conversations with people who says, "Oh, at the end of the appraisal, it's like, oh, I got good increment, but that idiot got better than me. So then I'm not happy. I was happy till the time I found out how much increment he received." Right. So there is I'm just kind of pointing one thing, but there is fear, there is greed, there's silos. So there's a whole trigger that is happy here, right?
I think somewhere, Manoj, one fact which I have come across is that, as I think, we are not groomed to receive feedbacks. I mean, we don't have that ability to receive feedback. We want to be nice. I mean, in Indian cultural context, let me tell you more so, that we are taught like that from childhood. Be nice to others. And giving feedback is also a very, very challenging task, because it is not giving difficult. It's a difficult conversation. That how are you making a person on a fact base to receive a feedback? So
and the
unfortunately,
manager here is also scared, Abhay.
Yeah.
Sometimes the manager is also scared. If I give feedback, right?
Yeah.
And my employees if they quit, or if there's some other problem, it will again, I will look bad.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because
also he has to work with them,
Yeah.
So normally,
Yes, I have to get the job done with them. Yeah.
So what Bhagat is also saying is that you have to be nice in conversation. You have real you is different, and in that meeting, the conversations are more guarded. So perhaps ability of manager to give candid feedback is also an issue. It's a capability issue, and similarly for appraisee to receive feedback also is an issue, because there's a very short sightedness in terms of just getting a rating around it. That's the challenge.
Yeah, and we can spend I think 2 days discussing it, but I think all of us can agree that the current relationship that most people have around performance appraisals and feedback and performance dialogues, and relationship most organizations have, there are huge gaps, right? It's not very powerful. Can we agree to that?
Yep.
So there are huge gaps in there. There's limitations in that. There are opportunities to grow. How many of you say that? Raise your hand. Okay. So we are not going to invest time in seeing we don't want to invest too much time in looking at what's not working. I think all of us are clear in some sense about what's not working, right? There's something not working, and today we want to see if we can create a new relationship. Okay. So for that, I'm going to introduce a principle, which those of you who have been exposed to theory, but now we're going to see that in a different context. And the simple principle, at the same time, the most powerful principle is listening. Okay. So if I ask you, when this is going on, when the survival is going on, when emotions are going on, and fear and greed and all this, and I have to do this, and all is going on, what is the quality of listening that people are providing in this performance appraisal, performance dialogue process? What would be the quality of listening? On a scale of 0 to 10, what would you call it? What would you rate it? Somebody said 1?
-1.
-1.
It would be less than 5, sir, because people are
right?
defensive.
Yeah, defensive. People are defensive, right? Scared, worried. Okay, cool. So
sometimes it is
scared and worried.
Downloading, yeah, scared and worried, yeah. So let's look at how Otto Scharmer introduces these levels of listening, and let's look at how that plays out in the performance appraisal world. So what we say is human beings don't listen. All of us have or most of us have an illusion that we listen, right? And some of us are even willing to bet our last dollar on that. But the bad news is, if you're a human being, you're not programmed to listen. That's just default programming. Like, you're a human being, you are programmed to breathe, and you're programmed to not listen. What do we do? What do we do which looks like we are listening, but actually we are not listening? The word here is downloading. So it looks like we are listening, but actually we are not listening, right? So we call it as downloading. So let me give you a visual of that. Okay. So imagine that you are in a closed room and you have windows across, but the windows are closed, and you have curtains, and curtains are pulled down, and there is a projector in the middle of the room, and the projector is projecting. So you are seeing and you're listening based on what the projector and your audio video devices are saying. The only problem is you're in the middle of the room and this projector is connected to your brain or to you. So what it is projecting is whatever is there for you already. And it may be great, whatever is getting projected. We're not saying it's wrong. or not great. It may be great, it may be world class, but what it is projecting is different from or completely disconnected to what's happening out there in the world. So it's what you're really seeing, what you are really listening is just your what we call as voice of judgment and opinion. So what looks like listening is actually we are just listening to our voice of opinion and judgment. That's what we call as downloading, right? So if you take a minute and look at around this appraisal process for employees, for managers, right, and for the HR and top management, what kind of voice of opinion and judgment is at play? Right? Take a minute and write down. How's the voice of opinion and judgment playing out? How is it? Let's first write down for employees, right? The person who is getting appraised. Well, what's the voice of judgment and opinion that's likely to influence an employee? Okay, let's hear from some people. Or if you want to put it on the chat, you can do that also. So what's the voice of opinion and judgment likely to be at play for the employee who's getting appraised?
Could be that my boss is not liking me, so whatever I will say, he will not accept.
Yeah, perfect. My boss doesn't like me, so I'm already kind of clear how it's going to go, right? It's not going to be fair for me, right? Cool. Somebody else?
Or getting into the meeting with the mindset that I have done well. I just want to hear only positive things.
Yeah, I have done well. I hope for that they better give me the rewards that I deserve, right?
They will give COVID as a reason and not give me enough.
Yeah, yeah. This year they will use COVID as a reason. Last year they used something else as a reason, right?
Yes.
And ultimately they will do what they want to do.
True.
Okay, somebody else.
Sorry.
Nandkishore? And then Pugal.
I could not do something, but that is not because of me, because of someone else. Someone else is not recognized that.
Yeah. In spite of so many challenges, I have done and I'm not getting recognized. And that person had a easy cakewalk, and they're going to kind of praise him to glory, right? Pugal?
Yes, whenever you go for that, they'll start with the negative things. Then whatever positive things you've done, you forgot, then we'll come back.
Yeah, I have done 10 good things and one bad thing, one mistake, and I know what they're going to talk about, right? That one is going to overshadow all the 10.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some people will say they already fixed the increment, only filling formality.
Yeah, this is a formality, right? And yeah, good.
Our first 9 months, what we have done, forgotten, only last 3 months, what went bad, considering that.
Right, the recency principle, right? Okay, good. Now, let's change.
Prakash has got a very interesting in the chat. He says that when you are
while appraising, I have already made yeah. So now I'm coming to that, Prakash.
Yeah.
And which is, let's wear the hat of the manager, the person who is doing the appraisals. What is the voice of opinion and judgment that an appraiser, the manager, is likely to go in? And don't worry about only your voice of judgments. You can look at yours, you can look at others. As managers, how is this voice of judgment and opinion playing?
The team member is boasting too much about himself.
Yeah, they are boasting too much about themselves, like as if they have done everything. Right. Okay, good. Somebody else?
Work was done by the department, but most of this was done by me only.
Yeah, actually, I did most of the work. Right. Yes, Raquel, and then Anita.
Yeah, he might say that I have only this much budget. How do I spread this?
Okay, I have this much budget only, right?
Yeah.
How do I keep everybody happy? So I'm not going to keep some people happy.
True.
Okay.
So Manoj, if you don't mind me asking you a question.
Yeah, Vikram.
Why would we want to not separate performance with compensation review? I mean, why would we always like to have persons' potential and performance reviewed always in numerics that leads to a compensation?
Yeah, that is very true. And unfortunately, still it's happening in most companies, right? So one of the things that we have done in the companies that we are consulting, we have actually segregated these two conversations. One is about the performance appraisals, and the second is about the next year KPI, right? The next game KPI. We actually separated them completely, two separate conversations. And I saw that no need to mix them. They're not connected.
See, even in my past roles, right now, other than my current organization, even in my past roles, we have kind of had an opportunity to talk about performance, have very clear conversations about potential, and then make leaders and managers responsible for growing potential. Because if you would like to see people to grow from within, then the leader has to take accountability to what the team does.
Yes.
And the reflection of that happens to be in terms of looking at how does your next year's KPIs or your goals start to become more realistic based on how the team is starting to gear up. And then conversations need to go on from post-mortem appraisal conversations to feed forwards, like Malcolm Goldsmith said. How do we look at a feed forward? I mean, I'm just kind of, I'm sorry if I'm throwing in a spanner in the works, but
no, I think you're doing perfectly fine. I'm just trying to get a deeper sense of what you're saying. So are you saying, just for me to get clarity, are you saying that the performance conversation and the remuneration conversation or the reward conversation should be separate? Is that what you're pointing at?
Yes, Manoj.
Okay,
yes, Manoj.
Okay,
I've done that as a HR leader for Cisco. I've done that in GE.
Very good.
I come from those schools. So, we've seen conversations which we used to have when Jeff came in and took over, moved away from what Jack Welch used to do, or rather expected us to do.
Right.
So the whole conversation then started to move from, hey, I have to find my bottom 10 in my 9 blocker.
Yeah, that is like a that has been one of the, I think, a big crimes that we have committed in the past. I am just hoping that all of us have gone beyond that, right? So I'm not even addressing that. Right? I don't think we have any justification left to defend that. But I'm just still not so sure from how it would work out between performance conversations and remuneration conversations, right? But I'm open. I'm just trying to see what does it look like. Right? But what I have done in the companies, what we have been consulting, what we have been doing, Vikram, is we have separated performance conversations and KPI conversations, the next year KPI conversations. And what we are doing is the next year KPI is connected with the company strategy, right? So it has to come from the company strategy, and it has to come from the competency framework evaluation, not from the past performance basis.
Absolutely.
So that's what we have been able to do. But I'm going to think over what you said, and maybe
we can connect offline.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, but good. I like that. Thank you very much, Vikram.
I think one aspect which I just want to share, Vikram has mentioned, and if you are looking at rewards, we can look at rewards in two parts. So one is
don't go there, Abhay, right now. Abhay, I request you stay with this conversation, because we want to create a new relationship to performance appraisal today, right? And we have to do it in the next 1 hour.
Okay, sure.
Right, so you have to transform fast. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Transformation on demand. Okay, good. So all of us can go deeper into it, and we can notice that employees, managers, all are playing from their voice of opinion and judgment. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah. And is there a voice of opinion and judgment also running for the HR team and the top management team around appraisals? If you've been a reviewer or in the top management team, how is the voice of judgment playing out there?
When company performance or team performance is not up to the mark, the manager rated everyone high.
So common, right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't meet the targets at all, and everybody is highly rated. It's like you have nothing to say, right? Okay, cool. So now, if we, and this is, yeah, go ahead. Somebody was saying something.
Because you said,
yes,
we now laugh at this, but it shows,
yes,
looking back, that the old type of appraisal was not fitting, because
yes,
exactly they might have done something that is emerging future, and someone even gave them sort of a positive appraisal, and yet it seems unfair. This is because exactly the appraisals were looking back at renewing the standard rather than looking for the future. But while you are doing it, sort of earning the brownie points, you are trying to make the future, and then you are appraised for something different. You should have stuck to the standard, but the world doesn't stop. It's not that you set the standard and then you have 12 months and then you roll it out, but the world then goes along. So for what we now laugh at was a misfit even in the past.
True.
Yeah.
True. And I am sorry to say that is still happening in most companies.
Yeah,
it's like, it's not like it's over, right? It's not completely over, right? So bottom line is, in the world of ego and in the world of downloading, our performance appraisals, performance dialogues are colored and limited. Yeah. And so we want to now look at what is the other option, what is the other world. So inside of that, I want to introduce the level 2 of listening, right? Raquel, did you want to say something?
Are you referring to me? Sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, did you want to say something?
Oh yeah, this is my favorite. This is the only thing I know. The 4 levels of listening. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I really love the fourth one, which is generative. But yeah, anyway. But the second one is factual or data. So from what I understand, the first level assumes that I know this already, but the second, factual, makes me challenge my beliefs because of the facts. Yes.
Right. Very good.
Yeah, and then the third and fourth, but maybe later. Yeah.
Perfect. So we want to talk about this second level of listening, as Raquel mentioned. We call it factual listening, right? So let's go back to the visual. Remember, you were in the room, closed room, right? And you had the projector going on. So the level 2 listening is, factual listening is, you switch off the projector, or at least put it on pause, okay? And you stand up from your chair, go to the window, open the curtain, open the window, and look outside. And you see what's happening out there. So that's what we call as factual listening, which is you discover new data. What kind of data? Data which disconfirms your current understanding. If it is matching your current understanding all the time, then you should question whether you are really listening. So what we say is factual listening is where you are committed, not accidentally you discovered new data, but you are committedly discovering new contradictory data. Data which makes you question your current logic. Data which makes you pause. If it doesn't make you pause, maybe you were not listening. Right? Listening happens in the pause. So if you say, oh, I know, this is perfect, I know, then game over, right? But if you're listening for what's different than what I already know, what is the other different data or a different perspective than what I already know, right? And according to me, while this sounds very simple, this is magical. Okay, so I'm inviting each one of us to look at how would it look like if employees, managers, HR, and the management team all trained themselves and operated from factual listening for disconfirming data. Of course, you can do it all the time, but I'm saying right now, let's look at from around performance appraisals and performance dialogues. How would it look like if everybody was looking at, oh, let me actually practice factual listening. Let me be committed to see new things, new data, different perspectives. By the way, those of you who know the answer to my question, which I'm about to ask, please don't answer that if you've been in that conversation before. But for those of you who this question is new, you can try. Which profession is most masterful in practicing factual listening? Which profession? Any guesses?
Judge, sir. Judge.
Judge, I hope so.
The medical profession.
Medical profession.
Medical. Yeah.
Professors.
No.
Professors.
Professors, no. I don't think so.
I think a doctor, a medical doctor.
Again, I hope so. But one profession that I think is my opinion. Okay, you don't have to agree, but I think more trained than most of us is scientists, because the whole success of a scientist depends on seeing the data newly. If you see the data in the same way and you're going to interpret in the same way, you don't have a job. Your whole job is to discover new data and see different ways of the same data. The whole profession exists around it.
If I may add,
someone else will try to contradict this theory or break that theory. So
yes,
even if people try to come up with
new data, yeah,
that proves your theory if that is not
yes,
possible. So it's a complete change. The game is completely changed as to ours. Yeah, I agree.
my brother's a scientist,
yes,
and he contradicts everything that I say.
So now you can forgive him. I think now you can forgive him because you know he's just being true to his profession.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so coming back here, let's look at in our companies, right? If all of us, employees, supervisors, managers, reviewers, HR, everybody, if we were all practicing factual listening, how would it look like? What would happen to our conversations?
It looked like, my superior is not focusing towards my presenting. Ignorance.
Sorry, I didn't understand. So if you are doing a presentation.
Yeah, if I'm doing a presentation, if my boss is doing that way, so
is listening for. So let me clarify, Kedaswamy. Right. So when you're doing the presentation, right, the boss is listening for, okay, in this presentation, what is new? What is the data point that I did not have before? Or what is the new perspective that Kedaswamy is bringing, which I did not have before? So if the boss is listening like that.
No, if he is
that is factual. This is what is factual listening.
Yeah.
Factual listening means this. Okay. Factual listening means you're listening committedly to in whatever is being said. You're listening for new data, contradictory data, different from what I already know. They're not listening to contradict you. They're listening to learn, to discover something new for themselves.
Okay.
I thought so.
Another way.
Yeah, I thought so. But now you can get what I'm saying, Kedaswamy?
Yeah.
So next level of inquiries. Next level of inquiry.
Yes, inquiry. Yes. Vikram?
Emotional connect or the emotional content may probably get a little reduced. But
The emotional charge will get reduced, if I were to use that word.
That's right.
Yeah. So the emotional charge will get reduced and there'll be more data.
And this will lead the way of Kaizens and innovations.
Yeah, very good. Those data points may trigger a lot of new thinking, right? And that new thinking could include some innovations and all that. So this could be a beginning of those kind of opportunities. What else would happen? So if employees,
synergy of ideas.
Yes, a lot of ideas would come. Right, very good.
Somebody else? I think it'll be a great basis to create KPIs for the subsequent year.
Okay, I wasn't thinking that way. It could be valid. I wasn't thinking that way. I was more looking at Maitreya. It might help managers to know the field better, like what's actually happening in the field outside of their cabins, right? Like because you are listening to the employees and then you're listening to the next level of employees, and ultimately you're listening to the field, right? So you might actually get a better insight into what's happening out in the market, out with the customers, out with the competitors, what's happening. So you get ears and eyes open. I was more thinking on that direction, but right. But in that way, of course, ultimately it can also affect the KPI, but not like directly listening for KPI. Do you get the difference, Maitreya?
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. It gives you a sense of grassroots, what's happening at the grassroots level.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also reverse, if you are my manager and I am the employee, it also gives me an access to how you are thinking and your challenges and your perspectives.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm saying practicing both ways, right?
Yeah.
Okay, somebody else. What do you see if the employees and the managers and everybody practice deep listening, factual listening?
Sir, there will be alignment of both persons thinking, sir. Alignment.
Yeah. There will be much more alignment, right?
Yes.
Very good. And what kind of questions would happen? Would you have questions like, why the heck you did not do this? Or you would have questions like, okay, what happened? Like, what's the real thing happening there? What's the real challenge?
The healthy discussion will happen.
Sorry, Pugal, can you say it again? I couldn't hear you clearly.
The healthy discussion between the both the persons.
Healthy discussions, and both people will be on the opposite sides of the table or on the same side?
Both on the same side.
Yeah. So
at least both of them can know the strengths and weaknesses of each other and can augment them properly.
Very good. So this is what actually inspired me to have this conversation. And when I saw this in December, is most organizations spend a lot of time and energy around performance appraisals, right? And I saw the opportunity that this could be the biggest learning festival of the year for a company. Compared to any other program, compared to anything else that you do, right? It's like instead of sending everybody to Harvard and back, if you're already investing time and energy for performance appraisals, if we created a new possibility that the performance appraisal is the biggest learning festival of the company, so moving from the ego to the eco, from the survival of myself and my department and blah, blah, blah. How about it being the biggest learning festival of the company. How many of you see it possible now? Or at least you would be interested in this? Okay. So only some hands are going. So what's happening to others? You're shocked?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, very good. I think now more people are getting interested. So this is what I actually wanted to create. Like, and of course we'll go deeper and see what else, how we create. But first shift that I was looking at is shifting from ego, survival, greed, fear to being the biggest learning opportunity. And not only learning opportunity for the employee, but it's a learning opportunity for the employee, for the manager, and for the company. And very important that it's a learning opportunity for the company also.
Yeah.
Not just the employee and the manager. Because if it's not a learning opportunity for the company, we'll miss out a very big opportunity, according to me. Okay, questions, comments, what ifs, arguments?
I personally think this is a very refreshing approach to appraisals, what you just said.
Thank you.
You know, because I've actually never thought of it that way. You know, I think appraisals, yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
neither did I before December. Yeah, thanks.
Definitely food for thought, you know. I mean,
yeah. Manoj, how it is different from 360-degree appraisal, that the concept?
I'm not, say, 360-degree, whatever feedback process you give, that's not really relevant here. Is the context. Why are you doing it? Right. Okay. Now, the 360-degree also, you could do it from survival and fear. Anything you can do from the context of survival and fear and greed, right? And silo thinking, right? Or you can do it from, oh, it's the biggest learning opportunity for the company.
Right.
So it's a more contextual shift than a content fight. You get me? You get me, Kiran?
Yep.
And
so
why?
it is more about the mindset.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Okay.
But it's a mindset that we will have to create in the whole company.
Yeah.
Right. It is not something just like an individual, oh, I am going to think from this mindset. Yeah, that will be great. But the real power is going to be when we can have the whole company aligned to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I am very, very aware that there has to be not only employee learning and manager learning, but also organizational learning. I'm very mindful of that. Okay.
But just a question, Manoj.
Yeah.
You know, when you get into an appraisal process, then, you know, it's the battle lines are drawn. Everybody is defensive. Your mind is not open to learning, you know,
Right.
because, you know, you're trying to prove points. You're trying to prove your point.
Yeah. So that's why we need to change the context in which that whole game is played, right?
Right.
I am not talking about you changing this or that in the game. I'm looking at changing the whole context in which we play the game. And that's why everybody needs to get involved, from the top management to HR to everybody. And this is, I'll just share about that in a moment, how it started for me. But let me listen to Vijit first. Vijit? How do I pronounce your name? I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you. Birgit. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Fine. I'm used to British.
I like the last word, Otto, because that we.
But it's my family name rather than his.
Yeah.
But it would be easier than Birgit. But Otto is a male name, so I cannot.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, cool.
Anyway, when you talked, Manoj, I was instantly reminded of something that I've been doing for many years, which is EFQM assessments. And I'm not sure whether you are familiar with EFQM.
Can you say that again?
EFQM model assessment, and
okay.
I just put it in the chat so that the EFQM model. And it started really when you describe the factual thing, because this model comes from the quality management field in the widest sense, but was developed to a systems model looking at the holistically at systems now. And when you describe this factual listening, I think that's very much what the quality management people within the company, they have developed that kind of culture. And they also always found themselves limited once they got out of the quality into the top management or the marketing or the sales guys sort of world, because they didn't have this factual, but they had developed this factual and then gradual improvement, this TQM kind of thing we all know. And EFQM tries to look at it holistically. And I was just thinking, one of the big advantages of EFQM is that it has not this appraisal. It's completely disconnected from immediate sort of judgment. You are in, you're out, you get this or you get that. But it's an organizational learning that's usually connected with the strategy process. And you invite everybody in, and so it's a real deep learning experience. Yet, and this is the water in the wine, my experience says, once we have this, and during the time we have this assessment, it's really that kind of learning that you were probably seeking as well, but but we didn't have the appraisal situation with it. And yet, what watered it down, or always waters it down, is once we leave that space of learning and we bring the ideas back, we hit the old structure. And we hit the old culture and the old separation. And that's where then all this learning and this communal organizational learning and this connectivity that we do during the assessment sort of, hits the real world and finds it difficult to then change things. Really change things.
That's where your theory you will help you to create the right culture.
And I think that's where we really have to think that we get this whole culture. And that's why I'm very interested in Otto Scharmer, because I think Otto Scharmer is really theory U is the thing. But I agree with the previous speaker that I think it's difficult to try that in the usual appraisal setup, because that's diluted. That's not an open situation. We are all playing games in that situation.
Completely. By the way, if it was easy, we wouldn't be talking to you. Right? You wouldn't be required if it was easy, right? So don't hope any easy assignments from us. Okay. So we're going to move on in the conversation, and I was sharing. I plan to share connected with the last question. So we are working with this company, and we had the privilege of working with the MD and the core team. And that's where when we did this work with them and trained them first, and we see that then we can kind of cascade it down to everybody. So it's possible to shift the environment in the company, right? So who was it who was talking before Brigitte? So whether you work in a small section of the big company or whether you're working in the big company, it would be important that the so-called top management there will have to be playing the role, right? They have to own it up. Right? It cannot be something that is you try it alone. You'll have to create a awareness and a core team around it who will help you to implement this new context, new culture. Okay, and I will take questions on that after some time, but let me introduce you to the third level of listening, and Raquel wants to tell us what is the third level of listening, and then we'll see how does that play out, right? Raquel?
So,
am I saying your name correctly?
It's Raquel. Yeah, Raquel.
Raquel. Okay, good. Thanks.
it's actually interesting because I saw that the model that Brigitte shared was inspired by design thinking, and I know in design thinking it's empathy is very important.
Okay. Yes.
So the third level of listening is so just to connect it.
Yes.
But the third level is actually empathetic listening. So it's not just about the facts, but also listening and putting yourself in the shoes of the other person.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of design thinking. That's just what I wanted to say.
Perfect. Perfect. So again, going back to the visual, remember you were in the room and you were seeing the projector and the things projected by the projector. And then we asked you to pause that projector and go to the window and open the window and the curtains and look outside. So that was level 2 listening, which is the factual listening. The level 3 listening is, as Raquel said, it's an empathic listening, which means you actually walk out of that room and you go out where people are and you stand with them and look back at everything, look back at yourself, like as if you are in kind of in two positions at the same time. So you're in your room and you are out there with them, and from there, that place, you look back at yourself. And you look back not only at yourself, you look back at the whole system. You look at how the world shows up from the eyes of the other person, right? That's what we call as empathic listening, which is you're listening with open heart. You're listening from other person's, you're seeing from other person's eyes. And when you do that, that's where the deep emotional connect gets created. Okay. So
dialogue happens. Dialogue happens.
More than dialogue, dialogue will happen, but more here, the focus is on you seeing the world from others' perspective, from others' eyes. So what is the concept here, Jesu, is all of us have a worldview. We live with a particular worldview. And we assume that everybody else sees the world in the same way that we see. But it's not true. Everybody sees the world in their own way. So unless you can see the world from their eyes, you have no idea of why they're saying what they're saying. And you can, of course, make interpretations and judgments, but you have really no idea why they're saying what they're saying unless you can see from their eyes. So the third level of listening is empathic listening, is the open heart listening. Now, it may be a jump, but let's see if we can also visualize how would this performance dialogue look like, performance appraisal look like, if we practice not only factual listening, we practice both factual listening and empathic listening. So make a note, right? So take a paper and pen. Just I'll tell you how to do this. Those of you who have not done this kind of journaling exercise from theory or principles, I'll give you a simple access. Take a paper, take a pen, put the pen on the paper and don't take your hand off. Let it write. Let the pen write. You will be surprised how much it writes. Just put your pen on the paper, let it write. How would it be if everybody, the employees, the managers, and everybody else practice both factual listening and empathic listening? Open mind and open heart.
The intent, the purpose will be more understanding with the feelings also, sir, with the emotions also.
Okay. Very good. Somebody else? What do you got? What did you write down or what came up to you? How would it look like? What do you see as possible?
Less judgment, enjoyment, surprise, laughter, more, and almost like a surprise, a positive surprise that there are more options to a problem, more options for solutions than what I individually would have in my mind. So if I'm open, I think that could create a laughter and joyness and sort of fulfilling. It's a contrast, it helps me, it's a medicine against fear.
Yeah.
Because my solution there,
it almost sounded like people can be human again.
Yeah. Normal. Normal. Yeah.
It's
but
like,
it felt, as I
wow.
wrote it felt like being comfortable. It really felt like, yeah, that's exactly how it should be.
Perfect. Somebody else?
I think there's a confidence in the.
Yeah, Yagnish?
Yeah, I think there is a transparency which has been brought, and the confidence of the team and the people who are present both gets. I mean, there's a confidence gets,
Yeah, confidence and trust, right?
Yeah.
And did you say transparency?
Yes, sir. Transparency.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you, Yagnish. Somebody else?
I becomes we, sir. It becomes like united unity. It forms the basis for unity, sir.
Yeah, it's a real chance to move from I to we. Yes, thank you. Somebody else? People who have videos off, can you put your videos on and jump in? Don't wait. Okay, this is an interactive conversation, right? We don't have lectures to give. So if you jump in and speak, we would love it. Weng, go ahead.
Yeah. Sounds like world peace, where everyone is expressing themselves, building something that contributes to the world. Like it's like boundless.
Yes, and everybody can contribute, right? Everybody is co-creating. Yeah, very good. Good.
Maybe both management and the employee would get a real or a better view of the barriers to performance, and ergo, management or the whole company has a real chance to grow, as well as the employee has a real chance to grow inside.
It almost felt like, as you guys started speaking, no, it felt like what I sensed is like the whole suffocation disappeared for me. There was like jammed suffocation. It's like just freed up, right? In the way you started sharing here. Okay, somebody else.
As well as pretense also, Manoj.
Yeah, the pretense also goes away. Yeah.
When everyone's defensive, everyone tends to cover up or exaggerate things.
Yeah, perfect.
So it feels like connected.
Devesh?
It feels like connected.
You feel connected, right?
More of trust, sir. More of trust. And less judgment.
Yes, very good.
And it also is the way where we find a space of security in the time where everyone knows that we have no security at all. I mean, after COVID, we definitely know if we hadn't known before, but there's no security whatsoever. And this sort of security of the past time, which is, I come a bit from a quality background. This is why I have this quality. This standardization of processes then gave us in the past this feeling of security. As long as you stay within the standard, you're safe. And this is completely gone now because you don't know. At most times you can't really obey the standard and you will not be safe, that's for sure.
Yes.
So you have to create a new space of safety. And for me, that is the safety space, that you have not the organizational standards, the process standards, the procedurals, and the structure, because this is all going. But you have the safety that you create within the people, the safety by the trust. And what I said when I wrote it, and I was really surprised of myself how it sort of flow out of my pen, because I'm used to this, and yet it felt like a real positive emotion coming over. Hey, this is a real safe space if I can trust on others having a solution where I don't have one. And it's completely different to this old world of there's a quality standard. And then if I reflect that to the appraisal, then we could take appraisal from there and you would then appraise openness and trustworthy and people's way of listening rather than whether they came up with something like a standard we have set in the past.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Manoj,
yes,
I think the employees will like to connect with the core ideas of what the appraiser or the leader is trying to say.
Yes.
And maybe help them connect with potential futures that they can correlate with. Probably bring out the best possible future into their current being, and then help them to look at, working with a collaborative team in trying to work for a transformational change rather than just an incremental change.
Perfect. So what I hear you saying is it will impact the whole culture.
To a great extent, I guess.
Yeah, and of course it will impact performance, because then there's a whole different partnership. Yeah, is that what you're saying? Like what I heard is partnership. There will be a certain amount of partnership.
You're right, Manoj.
Yeah, good, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, one more person, and then we're going to move on to another dimension.
Yeah. Manoj, when there is an openness and trust, so there is a lot of confidence that builds with the appraisee and maybe with an appraiser too. And there is an open communication between two because of the trust, and it will be a two-way communication instead of one way. Generally, appraisee in normal circumstances is only one way it goes, right? So either from the manager or from the employee, but it will build in a two-way communication, and so that it builds trust. And finally, as previously it has comment has come that it will change the culture of the organization itself.
Yeah. So Nandakishore, you correctly spoke about trust, and if I know the organization value of where you are working is
exactly, yeah, that's true.
Sorry, Sai, can you say it again? I missed you.
Nandakishore's organization's value is trust.
Right. Okay. Got that.
So Nandakishore, now you can see trust emerges in the space of listening.
Yes. Yeah. No listening, no trust. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, Vivek, can you help us with the slide on listening?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to introduce you to the fourth level. And Raquel, you're ready?
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I tried to read but the fourth level is it's called generative. So it's opening yourself up to the possibilities, like the two of you meeting together. And at least that's what my understanding of generative is.
Okay.
And yeah, what comes to me is the image of the 6 blind men and the elephant. But I don't know. But it's like how the 6 blind feeling like different things, and then realizing that there's something that you can create together and see the truth.
Yes. So while that is valid, Raquel, I think the fourth level is much more than that. Okay, so let's look into it. It's much more than that. So the fourth level of listening is rightly said, it's called generative listening. Vivek, can you keep the slide? And maybe you can keep the slide after this one, the black slide after this. I hope Vivek didn't get disconnected. Okay, so we'll come to that. Don't worry. So the fourth level is the generative listening. Is not just open mind, not just open heart, but we call it open will. Is not only listening to what is being said, but is also, and not only seeing things from other eyes, but is also listening to the future that wants to emerge. Listening to the highest possibility that can show up in that space, right? So it's the collective possibility. It's a space for collective creativity. And in this space, you're not just limited by what you saw and what others saw and what you think and what others think, but it's like it's actually the space where all of us can listen to something beyond beyond what you are thinking and what I'm thinking. But you can actually, after all that is said, then there is a space where you can listen for the future that wants to emerge. Right? Like, remember, I keep talking about the pause. So this is a collective pause, and then collective sensing. This is where sensing happens. And then it's the collective creativity. So Vivek, if you can go to the next slide. So going back to the visual of you were in the room, right? And you were seeing your own projections. And then the next one, phase level 2 factual listening, was you open your window and look outside, get really what is happening out there. And level 3 empathic listening was you go out there and stand with the people and then look back and see from their eyes. And level 4, this open will, is like you and they are all hanging out there, not stuck to their opinions or your opinions. And beyond just listening to each other, of course you do that, but you're also listening for something more. Maybe what universe is saying, maybe what's the opportunity emerging, maybe the highest possibility, maybe something else is inspired, like some inspiration will come. Now, of course, you cannot go to level 4, and every time we do train people in this workshop, everybody's like, oh, I want to go to level 4. I am at level 4 and I want to go to level 4 and I'm level 4. And I say, yeah. First master level 2. Because unless you master level 2, the game doesn't even begin. You are in your head about it. Right? And the magic begins if you master level 2. And level 4 will happen if you practice level 2, level 3, then level 4 will happen automatically. You cannot make level 4 happen. You master level 2, level 3, and as you practice that more and more, and your team practices it more and more, level 4 will happen. Like you will evolve into that. Okay. So when you say open will, which means what? You are willing to let go of how things have been done in the past. You're willing to let go of your way of doing things or our way of doing things or past ways of doing things. And you're allowing to new possibilities and new futures and new ways of looking at things emerge. We call it let go and let come. Okay. So now one more round of the thinking. If all of us in the organization practiced factual listening, empathic listening, and generative listening, then what could happen in your companies? Paper and pen, let the pen write for a minute.
So there will be new vision, purpose will emerge, sir. Connecting to the future.
Yes. Just, I know what you're saying is perfectly valid. Just take a minute, put your pen on the paper and let the pen write. What would happen if everybody in the company practiced factual listening, empathic listening, and generative listening? "30 seconds more, keep writing." Okay, let's hear from some of you. And we invite people who have not spoken to also speak. Okay, so Shreyans, if you want to say something, anybody who has not been speaking much, this is a good time to jump in, okay?
Yeah.
So, Shreyans, go ahead.
Okay, this will make a lot of alignment in thought process, and which will further result in the evolution process to become autopilot kind of situation.
I got the first part. You said there will be a lot of alignment in the thought process. Right?
So once the thought process is aligned, because currently when the thought processes are not aligned, those conflicts and those gaps stop the evolution.
Right.
So once all these thought processes are aligned and there is a complete synergy, then organization can evolve like
Yeah, it will evolve naturally, right?
Yeah.
I was not very comfortable with the autopilot word because, but I think you get that there will be certain ease and grace in that.
Yes,
right?
yes. I mean, you don't need to push it. The purpose was.
Yes. Yeah, perfect. I get you.
I think
Ranbir and then Madhu. And then I'll call to other people.
I think this with 4 level of listening, everyone will understand everyone.
Yes.
And new dimension will emerge, leading to new possibility for self, manager, and organization.
Perfect. Thank you. Madhu Shankar?
Yeah, what I feel is the team would perform in a much better way, and they will be actually ready for any challenges in the future, and there will be a lot of supporting of each other, and there will be understanding. So it will be a much better working environment, and also to face the future challenges.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.
I think Jose and Kiran wanted to speak.
And then Anna.
And I in between, I'll have that one good comment by Brigade. She says the compliance department will be out of work.
Okay, good. So some people are writing in. Right. Okay. Yeah. So SK, you called on somebody?
Jose and then Kiran.
Jose, Kiran, and then Anna, if you want to speak, and then Maitreya.
Yeah. I think we will be more prepared to face the future challenges. There will be a complete alignment within the team. The change management process will be much more easy.
Yeah.
So the looking towards the future, and people will be ready to address the future challenges.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Hola says good coordination, new ideas, smooth functioning of the organization. Mukul is saying understanding ground realities and continuous improvement. Yagnesh, individual be willing to surrender and feel good factor would emerge. Yeah, when you say surrender, I'm interpreting as surrender the ego, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, surrendering to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Surrendering to yourself, to your own self, and because that's
to the bigger possibility.
Yeah, bigger possibility. Yes.
Yeah, and less power struggle.
I also think it would create tremendous employee engagement.
Yes.
Because the top leadership, the leaders that I've seen have always shared a vision of the future. And that's how you create employee engagement. And if they feel that they have a stake and they're contributing to shaping this future, I think, the employee also gets, plugged into the whole process.
Sure. Perfect. Yeah, definitely. And without the employee engagement, you have no idea of why you already lost the battle.
Yeah.
So SK, you had called on somebody else, right?
Yeah, Kiran.
Yeah, Kiran.
Yeah, it will lead to the alignment towards one team and maybe the company vision, having a common vision across.
Yeah, very good. So once I asked a CEO, and I've been asking this question to many people, is, see, a human being brings in the intelligence of the head, heart, and hand. Head is their logic, heart is their passion, and hand is their ability to learn by doing. Right? It also represents skill, but it's also the ability to learn by doing. Now, asking the CEO, he runs a 15,000 people company. I said, how much of the potential of head, heart, and hand of your employees do you think you are tapping? His answer was 1%.
And maybe that too hand.
So the question for all of us is, like, really, how much are, as somebody just said, I think Maitreya just said, is the whole employee engagement phenomena. It's so misunderstood or so limitedly understood. Because when you say people fulfilling their potential, you have no idea of what you're talking about, because there's nothing called defined potential. Right? The same people, they go out of the office and they become smart, and they run projects, and they run businesses, and do a lot of other things which nobody thought that they could do when they were sitting in the office acting dumb. Okay, so yes, somebody else?
I think Maitreya wanted to share.
No, yeah, Maitreya shared, right?
Yeah, I've said my piece.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, one more person.
I think, leading self, leading teams, leading change, leading business, all become synchronized.
Okay, great. Vivek?
Yeah, I was thinking of asking you all this question. How would you feel if other people started to listen to you, especially your boss and your juniors and your peers, if they started to listen to you with an open mind, with empathy, really stood in your shoes and saw the world from your eyes, how would you feel?
Definitely will feel more empowered and more motivated. And that will actually bring out best out of us.
Right. Very good. Very good.
A lot of men listening, they don't like this question. Sorry.
I said in the beginning, probably it would feel strange because we're used to those games, and it's all kind of our individual structures, we know. So a lot of automatism will be gone, and you have to, it's like being like a child. You have to learn a lot of new things, and this takes a lot of energy. So I would expect that it needs a lot of energy from both sides. And,
no. You're
not something that happens.
You're missing his question, Birgit. You're missing his question. His question is, how would you feel if this happened? Don't worry about how to make it happen.
Yeah, I would feel overwhelmed because I would suddenly feel that I needed a lot more energy, because it's something that's not the normal situation. If it really comes from one day to another, I think I would not say, "Yahoo! Fine, he finally got it, and let's now move on."
Yeah.
I think I would be maybe a little bit like this in this situation.
Eureka moment.
It's like the downloading will start.
But Vivek's question is very much valid, because normally what happens is when learning, training, or everything, we think it is not for us, it is for somebody else.
Yeah.
But this is a very good thing. This, what it impacts me majorly, we fail to discover that. We'll always say that how it will benefit you, right?
Right. And yeah.
Listening skill is it is a very difficult skill to attain in individual also, as a team also. As a
Jesu, don't go there. Jesu, don't go there.
Yes, sir.
I think Vivek has asked an extraordinary question. Don't run away from it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, everybody. I think he's asked a brilliant question. How would it be if you imagine that next 1 week, 15 days, 1 month, 3 months, everybody around you is listening keenly to what you're saying. and they're listening with an open mind. Not that they're agreeing with everything, not that they're kind of stop their own listening, but they're genuinely listening with an open mind and open heart and open will. They're actually genuinely listening to you for the next 1 week.
I'll get a heart attack.
and for a month and for a year. Just imagine that everybody around you practices deep listening, genuine listening, factual listening, empathic listening, and generative listening with you for the next 1 year.
We will be 200% productive.
Okay, very good.
I would still say it will take up energy.
Sorry?
He will be more energized and focused.
Yes. Birgit?
I would still think it's taking up a different kind of energy.
Yes.
Which because we experienced, at least I experienced it over the past year when the pandemic struck. All of a sudden, and Germans are, we are square-minded. We are sort of not we like our festivals, and that's where we are sent, where we like to be. But in business, we're straight. And all of a sudden, people were more pathetic in the sense that, are you fine? Are you okay? Is your family okay? Suddenly started asking. So we did experience, at least in my surroundings, we experienced it, but it needed more energy because it had less of an automatism. It was less downloading in Otto's work. And the downloading has a benefit too. It has this benefit of, it doesn't take up a lot of energy. It's like you're binding your shoes in the morning without thinking. You're doing it for the last 50 years.
Right. So it will require you to be more conscious, more mindful. Yeah.
And it will create
energy in that form, right? Being more conscious and and also you since everybody is listening, you will also have to listen to what you're saying. So your own words will change. Your own words will change, right? Your own quality of thinking will change because, they're going to listen, like really listen to what I'm saying. So you have to also start listening, right? You will start valuing your communication much more.
And this means for your brains that you cannot go to the already rewired downloading things. And this is why I'm talking in terms of energy, because this takes
I get you.
Tired, because you have to rephrase and speak differently.
But I hope you're going to be more fulfilled as you're more tired.
That's for sure. I think that's
right. So would you be willing to be more tired in that way?
Definitely.
Okay, good. Very good. So, by the way, this is just one of the 100 dimensions of theory U, okay, that we brought to this conversation of performance appraisals and dialogues. And there is like a ocean, but I saw that this could be a powerful beginning for all of you. This is not like the ending of any conversation, but like I see it like we are putting a seed here, and then all of us in our own ways can work on expanding it, nurturing it. And of course, if you need anything, you could be in touch with us. But I thought it will be a good seed to plant for all of us to work on, right? And maybe you could keep sharing with us what you did with it, right? If you struggle with it, you could be in touch. If you created something great out of it, you could be in communication, right? Whichever ways, okay? So really, I think it was great to participate in this conversation. I didn't realize how fast the time went by. Right? It's almost 1 hour and 45 minutes. So it's like almost 1 hour and 90 minutes we have been having this conversation at least. It was good fun. So we got around 15 minutes to wrap up. So let's see. If you look for creating this kind of a space in your organization, what challenge do you see for yourself, or what pathway you see for yourself to create this in your organization? So what pathway you see and what challenge you see, if any?
So Manoj, I have a point here with regards to the factual listening. That's the challenge I was thinking when we are discussing about the factual listening. So employee may started feeling that my manager knows all the data, what I am doing it, what is that extra data which I need to provide, which he doesn't know. Okay, so maybe manager maybe started thinking that I know what my team member has done everything. So what is that new he can present, or maybe I don't know what it is. But having said these two challenges and the time they need to spend to prepare for the discussion, that to gather the data and go for a discussion. Okay, and currently unfortunately that data, the time, the quality time, both appraisee and appraiser both are not spending. So spend some quality time to gather the data and put forward for the discussion is the challenge which I'm looking at, where that willingness for the both from the appraiser and appraiser to spend that quality time.
Okay, great. Yeah, perfect. I get you. Actually, it triggered when you started sharing, Nandkishore, I got reminded that we need to actually tell you 3 enemies. You're going to have 3 enemies coming in your way. Okay. So just give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, so sorry. So
3 enemies.
Yeah, you got 3 enemies to deal with. Okay, and those 3 enemies. Vivek, can you show them the slide? These 3 enemies are, Raquel knows, voice of judgment. We call them VOJ. Okay, and second is the voice of cynicism. And third is voice of fear. Mayan, you want to capture it in the text? So all of us, to move from the downloading, the judgment world, and to open mind, we'll have to deal with our voice of judgment. And it's on so much. So how does voice of judgment look like? Because most people have no idea of how voice of judgment looks like. It looks like reality. So whatever we consider as reality, most of it is just opinion and judgment. Reality about ourselves, reality about the situation, reality about our company, reality about our industry, reality about economy, reality about money, reality about blah, 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 blah.
Circumstance.
It's all just opinion and judgment. So most people don't understand how voice of judgment looks like. It looks and sounds like as if you're dealing with reality. That's why it's most difficult and most challenging. And Nandkishore, you rightly identified that's why to move to factual listening and suspending the voice of judgment, right, is the most challenging part. And we're going to tell you after 3 enemies, we're going to tell you 3 friends also. Okay. The next enemy is your voice of cynicism. Cynicism is what? Nothing is going to change. I have seen companies for 500 years. I know this management for last 50 years. Right? Nothing is going to change. All this new blah, 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 blah. It's all fad of the year or the fad of the month. And there is all voice of cynicism. And it could work in other companies. It's not going to work in my company. And it could work with others, but it can't work with this idiots and whatever. And in this economy and in this, you will always have some great reason why it won't work and why it's not going to happen in your space, right? So there will be some voice of cynicism always there. So you'll have to, you will see that for yourself and you will see that for everybody around you. Okay. How many of you notice these two voices in the company? Not only for yourself, but also around. You see voice of judgment and also voice of cynicism. Yeah. Okay. There's another voice, another enemy. Maybe the biggest enemy. I don't know. We call it voice of fear. It shows up in many ways, right? Fear makes people defensive. Fear makes people offensive. Fear makes people suppress. Fear makes people hyper. Fear makes people do crazy things. Fear makes people shut up. Fear makes people speak too much. So there's so much of fear around that. Okay. So these are your three enemies, and I'm inviting you to note them down because you will see them not only in your own speaking and thinking, but around you also. Voice of judgment, voice of cynicism, and voice of fear. So now to deal with them, we don't want to leave you with just enemies. Let us give you three friends also that you can develop. But you will have to develop friendship with them, okay? It won't happen automatically. So Vivek, if you can go to the next slide, your voice of judgment, you can suspend. And if you develop this friend called curiosity, oh, let me see. I didn't think this way. Oh, this is different from what I thought. Tell me more. Help me understand. Oh, why are you saying this? This is, let me understand this. So if you can somehow develop curiosity for yourself and your company, your people around you, that's the beginning of open mind. No curiosity, no open mind. Like my definition of open mind is where you're open to question what is currently in your mind. If you're not open to question what is currently in your mind, then it's not open mind. That's simple definition, right? Okay, next, your voice of cynicism. How do you deal with this voice of cynicism? Vivek's favorite, compassion. And seeing from others' eyes. My quote on this is, we cannot understand what they are saying unless we see what they are seeing. I'm going to repeat. We cannot understand what they are saying till the time we see what they are seeing. Because we're trying to fit it into our world. It doesn't work that way. We'll have to see from their eyes, whether it's the customers or the employees or the other stakeholders or the managers. We got to see from their eyes. Okay, and the last one, and maybe the biggest one, is your voice of fear. And it stops us in more ways than you can imagine. And the way out is not that you will not have fear, but when you have fear, not use fear as an excuse to stop doing what you need to do. And that's what we call as courage. Doing what you need to do even when you have fear. That's our definition of courage. And that's your access to open will, letting go of the past, being uncomfortable and letting the new future come. Letting the emerging future come and being willing to sense that. Okay, Vivek, we can stop this screen sharing. Thank you very much. So, quiz question for everybody. Name the three enemies fast. Let's have some fun as we go. Vivek, can you stop the screen sharing? Okay, I think there's some IT network.
Voice of judgment, voice of judgment, cynicism, and fear.
Okay, voice of judgment, cynicism, and fear.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your friend to deal with voice of cynicism?
Compassion.
Compassion, right? Seeing from others' eyes, right? And what's your friend to deal with fear?
Courage.
Courage. And does it mean your fear will go away?
Open will.
No, your fear will be always there. But in spite of fear, you do what you know to do.
You'll have a method to handle it.
Whether you have a method or not, you do what you know to do.
Yeah.
It's like you don't worry about the method. You don't worry about anything. You just, if whatever needs to be done, needs to be done. It's like you don't have any excuse. With fear, without fear, you do what you need to do, right? That's courage. That's what we call as courage. And of course, the beginning of all of this transformation, the beginning of all of this transformation is by dealing with voice of judgment. And how do you deal with it?
Curiosity.
Yeah. So the beginning of all of this transformation, one way, one interpretation is curiosity. No curiosity, no transformation. Yep. Cool. So thank you very much for participating in this conversation here. What we're going to do is we're going to share our contact numbers in the chat for you if you want to engage with us on any further. Okay. And we do a lot of in-house workshops as well as open workshops and other things. So what we are going to do is also give you our detail about our next workshop. Just we put the brochure in the slide in the chat, right? And you can download it if you want, or you can get in touch with us on the WhatsApp. Okay. SK, can you put in your numbers, please? Okay. Yes, JDM. Okay. So create. Vivek, will you put in the brochure? Cohort 18 brochure. Our next level 1 workshop is starting in April. It's in the mid of April. I think it is 17th, 18th April. You can look at it. And if you want to explore further, most welcome to get in touch with us. But I'm really inviting you to nurture this seed in your own way. Okay. We are not kind of restricting how you nurture this seed, but create some magic out of it and let us know what magic you create. Yeah. So how many of you kind of going to nurture this seed, transforming performance appraisals? And Nash Industries, a lot of you are here, so I request you to work together in teams and build it further, right? Thank you very much, everybody. Love you for your participation. See you around the campus. Vivek and SK, you want to say something, parting words?
Yeah, I think it was a wonderful engagement.
Give me a minute to load the file.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody just hang on. Vivek is sharing a file with you on the chat. You can just download it before you go.
I think it was a wonderful engagement. Getting the perspective out was very enriching to see what's happening really in the field. That's one thing. The second thing was the commitment of people to actually transform that was also very, very inspiring. So
yeah,
thank you so much.
Perfect. Everybody, why don't you just write in one line or two, what you're taking home out of this conversation? Right? Either you can unmute and shout out, speak up, or just write in the chat. Okay. What you're taking home?
Transforming the performance appraisal.
Thank you.
Transforming myself.
Very good, Ranveer. Thank you.
The different direction, different dimension.
Different dimensions. Welcome.
Beginning the journey with curiosity.
Okay, curiosity, right? Great, thank you. Working on listening muscles, as somebody said. Perfect.
I would say transforming the organization.
Yeah, very good, Maitreya.
Keep the pen, retreat and reflect, sir.
Yeah, retreat and reflect. Take some pause in between. That's the smartest thing to do. Your brain works better when you give some pauses to it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Just one question.
Okay.
How do you get the CEO involved in all of this?
Yes. I think it's a what do you call it? Customized question in terms of each. I don't know where you are in the organization and how you would go about it, but I know one thing from the successes and the failures that I've had, that if you don't involve the CEO, it's not going to work.
Exactly.
And I have had some big failures and big successes based on just this one insight. Okay, so we'll have to figure out how do you do that. But one thing is we need to do
because
it.
most CEOs don't want to go beyond factual.
I don't think anybody goes to factual also, my friend. You'll be surprised. The more you go into,
it's all about numbers.
Yeah, more you go into what is the whole world of factual, you'll be surprised. Nobody's interested in it. Okay, guys, I'm going to need a minute here. Vivek had some challenge in uploading the file, so I'm going to do it from my computer. If you can just hang for a minute here. Okay, and should be ready here. Sorry for that. Wait 1 second. Okay, where is it? Yes, here it is. Here it is. This will be our 18th cohort in April. We have been doing for the last 5 years. Okay. Okay, so it's there on the chat. If everybody, you can see, if you can download this, right? And Maitreyi, I would say, first thing I would say is get at least one more like-minded person with you. Okay, that's the beginning. Don't try to do anything alone. Yeah, Maitreyi?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
somebody with political influence, I guess.
No, just first get somebody with a genuine interest in this. First get somebody who's with a genuine interest. Okay. Most organization or any transformation begin with ultimately you need a team of 4 to 5 people who are committed to the new vision, right? But it starts with one person and then you have to get other people involved. So my recommendation to you is get one more person who is genuinely interested in this possibility. So as you share with 10 people, you'll find that one person. You hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody.
Very much. Thank you, Manoj.
Welcome.
Very
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Be in communication. Thank you. Enjoy. Thanks, SK.
Thank you all.
Thanks all who have been invited by our friends. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Man, I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Mariam, thank you. Anita, thank you. Vivek, you can stop the FB.